All right, let's jump right into this explainer and absolutely dismantle this exhausting hustle culture myth. You know the one, the idea that building wealth requires waking up at 4 a.m., chugging 37 gallons of water, and just grinding for 18 hours a day. We are constantly sold this illusion that the only way to escape the rat race is to sacrifice your sleep and, frankly, your sanity. But the brutal reality? The wealthiest people in the world actually don't rely on sheer willpower. They rely on quiet, invisible systems. Which brings us to part one, the wealth willpower trap. To really understand the trap of relying on pure willpower, we have to look back at a fateful meeting. This was in 1923 at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago. And this wasn't just any gathering. This involved the world's richest business titans. We're talking the head of the largest steel company, the president of the New York Stock Exchange, the absolute masters of industry. And it poses a fascinating question. How do the smartest men lose everything? Because these guys had hustled and grinded to the absolute pinnacle of financial success. They were virtually untouchable. But fast forward 25 years later, and their stories took a shockingly dark turn.
Astonishingly, 9 of these massive industry titans ended their lives in absolute ruin. We are talking about men like Charles Schwab, who literally died penniless, living on borrowed money for the last 5 years of his life. Others died broke in foreign lands, some went insane, or just ended up in prison. It's wild.
So, what's the crucial lesson from their massive downfall? It's surprisingly simple. It is not about how much money you make, it is entirely about how much money you keep. See, these men knew exactly how to actively hustle for money. They had that down. But they totally lacked the foundational, invisible systems needed to actually protect and compound their money passively. Basically, they didn't have an infrastructure that worked for them while they were sleeping. To avoid that same tragic fate, we're going to explore a blueprint of 5 highly unsexy systems today. We'll cover automated money flow, the conscious spending engine, the 24/7 employee roster, unsexy index autopilot, and the sleep well buffer.
Let's start right off with system number 1, automated money flow.
You know, most people manage their money by playing this incredibly stressful, exhausting game of defense. They get their paycheck and immediately start hauling buckets of water to pay everyone else first, the government, the banks, the utility companies. They spend their whole lives making everyone else rich, just hoping a tiny sliver is left over for their own savings. But you have to establish a mechanical routing system instead. A literal funnel that pays you first the exact second your paycheck hits. You set up a direct connection between your checking, savings, and investments, and it automatically pulls those funds the very next day. 0 manual logins, 0 transfers. It completely utilizes the incredible power of defaults, putting your savings on pure autopilot. By doing this, you eliminate the need for willpower entirely, and honestly, you reduce your financial management to just 90 minutes a month. The money you need for your future is safely tucked away before you even have a chance to spend it.
Moving on to system 2, the conscious spending engine.
This one is huge because the way most of us manage our finances is tragically identical to how we try to lose weight. On one hand, you have people trying to get in shape by intensely debating crash diets or obsessing over obscure supplement details, rather than just doing the simple thing, eating less and exercising more. And on the other hand, we do the exact same thing with our money. We create these insanely restrictive budget spreadsheets and literally argue over pennies. We debate whether a $4 coffee is the thing keeping us poor. We obsess over useless minutia based purely on deprivation, rather than just accepting a few simple truths. Instead of agonizing over past mistakes, you need to build a forward-looking system based on your actual values. The rule here is incredibly simple. Spend extravagantly on what you love and cut mercilessly on what you don't. Take my friend Jim, for example. Jim got a massive raise at work, and on that exact same day, he mercilessly downgraded his apartment to a much cheaper place. Why? Because Jim doesn't care about housing. He just wanted to guiltlessly spend thousands of dollars on his true passion, which is mountain biking. And he did.
To build this kind of engine for yourself, you just sit down once and divide your income into 4 specific buckets: fixed costs, savings, investments, and guilt-free spending. Once your automated flow fills the savings and investments and your fixed costs are covered, whatever is left over is yours to just enjoy. No guilt whatsoever. You guarantee your financial future is totally secure while giving yourself the ultimate psychological freedom with whatever is left.
All right, system number 3, the 24/7 employee roster.
This concept completely exposes the massive myth that keeps the middle class trapped in the rat race.
Because frankly, we're never taught the fundamental difference between an asset and a liability when it comes to cash flow. Let's define it really simply. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket, whether you work or not. Period. The wealthy acquire true assets, like dividend-paying stocks or income-generating real estate, things that strictly put money into their pockets, without requiring their daily blood, sweat, and tears.
A liability, on the flip side, is something that takes money out of your pocket. The middle class constantly buys dream homes, fancy cars, and boats, falsely convinced that they are assets. I actually once taught a financial simulation class where a woman bought a boat in the game. She was absolutely thrilled until she mapped out the numbers and realized the ongoing maintenance and fees were literally eating her alive. It was draining her pocket every single month. She was so upset by seeing her own real-life financial behavior reflected in this game that she actually angrily stormed right out of the room. No joke. You absolutely must shift your mindset to view every single invested dollar as a tireless 24/7 employee working in the background for you. Think about it. These employees never complain, they never ask for a vacation, they just constantly generate excess cash flow so that eventually you can buy those nice luxuries without ever having to rely on credit. You're letting your money do the hard work so you don't have to.
Next up is System 4, Unsexy Index Autopilot. We really have to tackle this destructive, media-driven myth that you need to be some hyper-intelligent stock picker making sexy, fast-paced trades to get rich. The financial media desperately wants you glued to the screen, totally stressed out, and constantly trading. Just look at the absurd logic of the 1990s Foolish 4 active trading strategy. The steps were, take the 5 lowest-priced Dow stocks with the highest dividends, discard the absolute lowest one, then dump 40% of your money into the second lowest and divide up the rest. I mean, what kind of thorough business analysis justifies throwing out the most attractively priced stock or putting nearly half your life savings into one struggling company? When real people put their actual hard-earned money into this overly complex system, it completely failed.
The truly wealthy know that trying to beat the market is a fool's errand. Instead, you just buy the entire haystack with low-cost, broadly diversified index funds. Honestly, the most mathematically effective system is almost always the most boring one. An index fund just lets you own a tiny piece of every major profitable business on the planet. You capture the long-term growth of the entire global economy without any of the stress of trying to pick individual winners.
You need to embrace what's called the 85% solution. Getting started with a simple, boring index fund is 85% of the way to absolute perfection. And let me tell you, being 85% of the way there completely beats the paralysis of trying to research and find some mathematically flawless portfolio. You just put it on autopilot, ignore the noise, and let compounding do its magic over time.
Finally, we arrive at our 5th system, the sleep well buffer.
This system acknowledges one undeniable fact. Life is a continuous, unending chain of absolute surprises that no perfectly targeted spreadsheet could ever predict. Saving for specific goals is great, for sure, but it leaves a massive blind spot for the truly unexpected. To make yourself completely financially unbreakable, you must build a massive shield of unearmarked savings for absolutely no reason at all. It's literally just a large pile of cash sitting in a boring, incredibly safe savings account. Why? Because when the stock market inevitably crashes, and it will, if you don't have a cash buffer, a sudden job loss could literally force you to sell your investments at the absolute bottom just to feed your family. This buffer is your ultimate margin of safety.
And more than that, it buys you the ultimate intangible dividend. The highest form of wealth is simply the ability to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. This cash buffer buys you absolute control over your own time. It gives you the flexibility to walk away from a toxic boss, to wait for incredible opportunities, and to actually live your life out in the real world, outside the spreadsheet. So, I want to leave you with this question. Which of these 5 systems are you going to implement this weekend? If this explainer helped you see through all the noise of hustle culture and gave you a realistic path to building an automated financial fortress, leave a comment below telling us which of these systems you're going to take just an hour to set up this weekend. It's time to stop playing defense, start automating, and finally take control of your time. Thanks for joining me.